congregatio et secta diabolica, in nomine et virtute Domini nostri Jesu Christi, eradicare et effugare.
Boo Crew. Hi, Boo Crew. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Howl Podcast. This is Paranormal Howl. I'm your host, and with me is my lovely times three co-host, Jinxie. Hi, Jinx. How we doing tonight?
What's up? We're good. I feel kooky tonight.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're going to be silly?
I might be.
That's okay.
Okay.
We
good.
like that. We like that.
Yeah. I haven't been getting much sleep lately, so I'm like, I'll be kooky spooky. But I'm just going to tell the world, we found a mediocre Sonic today, so I'm happy.
Yeah, Sonics in our state are
Not good.
they're kind of shitty. But we did. We found one.
Yeah.
It was a trek, but it was worth it.
Yeah. I am a lover of the Sonic drinks, especially the ocean water and the cherry limeade. I buy the little water packets by the case. So I'm a little obsessed.
Yeah, you're a purveyor of the water talk.
I am.
I'm not mad about that.
No. What's new with you? What's new with you? What happened last week with us? I don't know.
Well, not so much last week, but what happened? We had a good family day yesterday.
God, it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, me, my family, we went to go see Beetlejuice. And it was great. It was excellent. I wasn't setting my expectations too high, but I mean, how can you go wrong with the cast that's in it, right?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was good to see Winona again. It was good to see Michael Keaton again. It was that raw humor that you have to be our age to remember.
But even if you aren't our age, even if you're younger, it's still it was still a good movie.
Movie.
I mean, it's very rare to find a movie that can appeal to every generation.
Right.
And this is definitely one of those. I mean, we had old, young, in between in that theater. Yeah. And it was great because the theater was quiet during the quiet scenes, which there aren't that many quiet scenes.
Right. But... And I will have to agree with some of the critics that we saw them write the reviews that even if you didn't see the first one, there was like a catch up to where you kind of knew what happened in the first one, but it's so much better to watch the first one than go on to this one, I think. Because then you get the whole story. But there were a lot of Easter eggs. You caught them.
Yeah, that was... I'm a huge movie buff, and I'm one of those that will sit there and just pick apart an entire movie down to the bare bones and find all the Easter eggs, find all the homages. I linking between different movies, just trying to kind of, I guess, get the whole movie conspiracy of it all.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's fun for me. That's what gets me going.
It was good. There's never a dull moment with our family gatherings. It is always you go to bed with your ribs hurting because you laugh so much.
It was good. It was good. That was the first half of the day going to the movies, and then we had a part 2.
We did
to the family adventures. We actually, if anyone listened to last week's episode, we talked about several roads in Connecticut that are supposedly haunted. And after my sister listened to that episode, she was adamant about going on a drive. That's a big thing with my family. We like to take drives. So last night we took my mom and my sister and Jack,
and our boy.
Yeah. And we went spooking down these roads.
It was great.
It was great. It was scary too because it was raining.
And what did you do?
Oh, I shut the lights off.
And what did you do?
What'd I do?
You scared your boy.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I scared our pup. I did.
And your mom.
And my mom.
I thought she was going to whack you upside the head the last forego of it, you know. She was really scared.
Good. That's the whole point. And, pro tip when you're going doing things, don't do them in October when cops are looking for you to do them.
Yes.
Do it every other
Pre-game.
month. Yeah, do it every other month of the year.
Pre-game or post-game, whichever way.
But it was definitely a lot of fun. And, we rated them, least scary to the most scary. And I think we all came to the same conclusion that Dracula Drive, Velvet Road.
Yep, that's the one.
That's the scariest one. How was your week aside from Family Day?
It's amazing. I had kind of a rough end of last week. I'm on day, 3 of my mini vacay, my homestay. Is that what you want to call it?
Day 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm, I got to get rolling on Little Miss Spooky,
Spooky sweets and treats.
Yeah. I gotta go get all of the officials for her next week. So we're going to be doing that.
That's good. I'm excited for you. Oh yeah. I'm excited to eat more treats too. You didn't make any for me.
I didn't. I haven't made any yet because it's like, I need to get the formalities over with. And then I'm going to go ham on it and just.
You'll be a little bacon machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I sure am.
Well, it just makes me want to eat the baked goods more. So
they're coming. I promise they're coming. And anybody in the Connecticut area, just look up Spooky Sweets and Treats on the Facebook. I plugged myself.
You did.
I did.
So to my sister and my mom.
Yeah.
Make sure you message her on Facebook and she'll deliver.
I'll deliver the goods.
She'll deliver the goods.
Yeah. Where'd you go for your story this week?
I didn't go anywhere, actually. And everywhere all at once. Does it make sense to you? Probably not, but it will.
Okay. So you're going everywhere and nowhere all at once.
Yeah, I didn't pick a state. This is kind of like a special one.
But like you asked me to pick a state for you.
Right. Okay. So that one's going to be for next episode.
Oh, that one's next one. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I have about 6 or 7 stories I already have in the chamber ready to go. I do one every night when I come home from work. I just sit there, and that's why I'm always got my laptop on my chest laying.
What do you call people that do that?
What?
You're an overachiever.
No.
Yes. You're overachieving on me.
No, I'm not. I just want to make sure I'm prepared in case we don't, I don't have time at some point. I just want to be ready. But you're going first this week.
I am?
You are. And
I got a long one for you guys, so buckle up, okay? I'm just telling you now. It's a lot of kind of back and forth, but I did something different.
Yeah. Well, you've lived more places than I, and we started this picking stories in places that we've lived. And I'm tapped out. I've only lived in Connecticut and New York. So but that's okay. I mean, I can do more out of Connecticut and New York. I actually have another New York story, and I have a couple of Connecticut's I have a few Connecticut's and New York's that I want to do.
Like, there is such a plethora of
it's so haunted
of stories, like even ones that are like outside of the box, right?
Yeah. You know what I was thinking? Because I was thinking about this. I was thinking about New York, right? And I work and lived in New York City for a while. And I was just thinking, like, when we talk about these ghost stories and haunted places and things, like, I feel like New York City is so haunted, but because it's so loud, people just miss things left and right.
Probably.
Right? Like, if New York City just quieted its ass down, you would catch so much more. I actually think I caught something one night. I was walking out of the train, and I walked past this building, and it looked like a consulate building, and all these lights were flickering in it. And there was no one in them. It was just flickering lights, like strobe lights. It was nuts. It was super scary. But
you sure the electrical system wasn't on a glitch?
Well, yeah, that could have also happened. So
We'll just imagine the first.
I just feel like the hustle and bustle of the city kind of dilutes the spooky stuff that actually goes on there. There's so much distraction in the city, you know.
But like, even when I'm there with you, and like we do like our Broadway shows and movies and stuff, like even walking like through the neighborhoods, it's mystic and eerie and ominous and beautiful all at the same time to me.
Yeah.
Even during the day.
It's the rats.
Oh my God. But I mean, you haven't been to a lot of places, but
I've been to a lot of places. I just haven't lived in.
Okay, you've been to a lot of places. So like, do things on like, you know, where you've been.
Like I said, I have about 6 or 7 stories, so I think I'm okay. I have lots of ideas. I have lots of things that I want to talk about, especially in Connecticut. I mean, Connecticut is so scary. Connecticut is scary. It's just scary because it's not that big, right? But it's not that small. There's so many little pockets of small towns and villages and, you know, little cities and even ghost towns in Connecticut. And there's so much history and there's so much buried history that I'm excited to dive deep into it for sure. But, you know, I have to pace it out too. I don't want to just talk about Connecticut and New York. So I have things, you know, sprinkled all over. And yes, I did make you pick a state.
I don't know what made me pick that one.
I don't know. It was a fucking good one though. I got a good story.
I don't know what made me pick it. I was just like, oh.
It was good. And actually, I know you said you were doing a true crime, paranormal / true crime, right?
Okay, yeah. Like I went outside the box on this one.
Yeah. And before I knew that that's what you were doing, when you picked Arkansas, I also picked a paranormal true crime.
Isn't that weird how our brains collide like that?
No, I love it. It's great. We should never stop doing that.
Ever. I love that it happens, but it's like,
it's a little creepy.
It is a little creepy. It just means that we're on the same plane.
I guess so.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so are you ready to start your story?
I mean, I'm ready to rock and roll, as long as everybody else is. So buckle up and...
All right. Sister, hurry up. Feed the cats. Get ready.
We're going down to Georgia.
That's where the devil went to, right?
That's right. So I began researching for something outside of the box to read about this episode when I came upon a tale of 2 men, Joseph Odom and Charles Scudder, who constructed a mysterious mountaintop compound on the outskirts of rural Tryon, Georgia in the late 70s. They were in search of a simpler life, and they found it for a while. Charles Scudder was a man of scholar and no stranger to academia. After studying zoology and languages as an undergraduate, he earned his PhD in pharmacology. Those are like the widest ranges of things to study? I just was like, okay, this man's mind must be fascinating. Shortly thereafter, Loyola University in Chicago acquired him as an associate professor of pharmacology. For more than a decade, Scudder taught students while maintaining a fierce regime of research, and colleagues would describe him as nothing but brilliant. In 1976, Scudder received a modest inheritance after his mother had passed. This, he believed, was his ticket to a new life, far away of stresses from the city and the university. He began searching for a new place to call home. From an article in Mother Earth News, he was quoted, "Someplace in hill country, with the glamour of 4 seasons without super cold winters. Keeping his virtues of moving back to the land, it has to be a place with a good supply of pure water and wood and heating for cooking, and most importantly, with a measure of isolation." His search led him to the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in North Georgia, where he discovered and eventually purchased a plot of 40 acres in the Chattanooga County. He drove 10 hours to scout the property and was enamored. There, I found hummingbirds, whippoorwills, butterflies, bobcats, great oaks, fungi, and rolling mountain woodland, he went on to write in his article in Mother Earth News. So on October 6th of 1976, it marked Scudder's 50th birthday, and he celebrated by submitting his resignation letter to Loyola University. He was worn down and completely exhausted from an unengaged and what he would state unteachable students and colleagues totally consumed with catty university politics. Scudder's personal affairs were nothing to write home about either. His second marriage had dissolved. His 3 children had grown and moved away out of his aging mansion on Chicago's west side. Well, Mr. To-Do. He and his longtime housekeeper, quotation marks, companion, Joseph Odom, were the only 2 residents left. Odom was 12 years younger than Scudder and had held only a 5th grade education. Scudder once went on to the Mother Earth News, stating he learned far more about the world than I had with all my degrees, and somewhere along the line, he developed a talent for whipping up meals fit for a king. Scudder immediately began liquidating his home, auctioning off the mansion's antique furniture, and gave away anything with a plug since their new home would have no electricity. He kept only essentials, including his prized harp. Weeks later, the house was sold. By January 1977, Scudder had fully dismantled his life in the heart of Chicago. He and Odom would move to Georgia, where brick by brick, they would build their life together. Scudder, Odom, and their 2 English mastiffs arrived at their property in Georgia amid grueling conditions. The party of 4 had driven through a blizzard that had pounded the American Midwest and South. The first few nights in Georgia, they had slept in their car, and then after pitched a tent. But as the snow began to melt, the 2 men got to work. With a chainsaw, concrete mixer, and a garden cultivator, Scudder and Odom began constructing their mountain homestead. They cleared a plot of land, dug a well, and even excavated the structure's foundation by hand. By summer, the first floor of the all-brick castle-like structure was livable. Years later, a local investigator of the Atlanta Constitution would note that it had been built using medieval building techniques, adding that there are no square corners in the whole place. But structure, geometry, was hardly the importance and interesting features. Above the arched main entrance, Scudder erected a pink concrete gargoyle. He also created and installed macabre stained glass windows, one of them depicting a human skull, another featuring Baphomet, the demonic goat-headed deity that serves as the official symbol for the Church of Satan. Now, remember the 2 English mastiffs that I told you about?
Yes, ma'am.
Massive. They were named Beelzebub, for the prince of devils in the Bible, and Arsenic, name of a character in Howard Phillips' Lovecraft novel, who, if you do not know, is an American writer of weird and horror fiction.
Well, fun fact, I didn't know that H.P. Lovecraft's name was Howard Phillip.
Records indicate Scudder was an official member of the organization. What organization is this?
The Church of Satan.
It was unclear when he joined. He never spoke publicly about his satanic beliefs. His new life in North Georgia was filled with its symbology. Even his new estate's moniker reflected Scudder's love for the macabre. The mysterious abundance of dead and dying trees on the property inspired him to name the castle Corpsewood Manor, which was set atop the deeply forested mountain of Taylor's Ridge. Now, according to another tale, he came upon this name from the body of a dead horse that was on the property the day the men moved to this site.
That's disgusting.
Well, but I feel like the dead and dying trees are a little bit more true, considering if they had been hit by a storm.
Well, yeah, it sounds way more poetic than, hey, I got this property. There's a dead horse on it. Corpsewood Manor. Boom.
Right. So,
why the pink gargoyle? Why was it pink?
You'll learn.
Oh, there's a reason.
There is a reason.
Okay. I will shut my mouth.
People who knew.
If you know, you know.
Right. And so we're going to find out.
Okay. I'll be quiet and keep taking my notes.
I knew you were going to ask that. And I left this space between hoping that people would pick up on, like, why is it pink?
I mean, I think I have an idea.
All right. So in the late 70s, the church founded less than a decade earlier by Anton LaVey, author of the Satanic Bible in San Francisco, had a small but dedicated following. Members didn't believe in an actual spiritual entity named Satan. Rather than, they used the Christian notation of Satan to rally around their atheistic and hedonistic ideals. Though they relocated for privacy, Scudder and Odom made frequent trips into Tryon. After navigating a windy dirt logging road, they could be at the main highway in minutes and soon pursuing the aisles of a grocery store. Though they relocated for privacy, Scudder and Odom made frequent trips to Tryon. The man quickly earned a reputation as the new-to-town strangers who dressed like hippies and drove a black Jeep with a pentagram painted on the side.
It's very inconspicuous of them.
Right?
Talk about just wanting to blend in and be left alone. Huh?
Well, curious Tryonians began making the drive up Mountain View Road to investigate their strange new neighbors. At the entrance to the Corpsewood property, a wooden sign greeted them with the warning, "Beware of the thing," likely an Addams Family reference. Although some townspeople said it was evidence Scudder had summoned a demon to guard the property. Others claimed to have seen robed figures holding seances in the woods.
This reminds me of the story you told me last week about how you used to go and bother the Satanists in Texas. So this is
a little bit
the Georgia version of what you used to do.
Right? So there were larger cultural forces fueling the local gossip. By 1982, Scudder and Odom had been in Georgia for 5 years, and the Satanic Panic was in full force, not just in Chattanooga County. Pop culture was preoccupied by the devil and the occult. Less than a decade before, The Exorcist horrified moviegoers with the scenes of levitation, projectile vomit, and vertebrae-cracking neck spins. Thank you, Reagan. Fantasy role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons debuted in 1974, scandalizing pastors and giving parents nightmares of their children falling under demonic spells. In 1978, a conspiracy theory claiming McDonald's was secretly funding the satanic enterprises gained so much popularity that the company was forced to release a statement denying the rumors. Its founder, Ray Kroc, reassured customers that he was a God-fearing, God-loving man. And the best-selling book called Michelle Remembers burst into a zeitgeist, introducing readers to satanic ritual abuse. In the memoir, eventually debunked, Michelle Smith, with the help of her psychiatrist and eventual husband, told the harrowing tale of being caged, tortured, and sexually molested by members of a satanic cult. And in 1982, Poltergeist depicted a haunting story of a family under siege by malevolent spirits. But closer to home, there was also the serial killings of several Black children and young men in Atlanta that had gripped the state in fear. Amid the manhunt, one theory circulating was that a ring of homosexual pedophiles was responsible. Around the same time, newspapers began reporting on a terrifying new gay disease. First identified in 1981, HIV was baffling scientists and the CDC and beyond. The topics of Satanism and homosexuality became increasingly common on the evening news broadcast. As the home of the two gay men, at least one of whom was a Satanist, Corpsewood Manor became a lightning rod for suspicion. But those who actually visited reported its two barons were so kind, often inviting guests to stay, eat, and share in homemade wine. As the two men made friends with locals, Corpsewood Manor became a social destination. Odom, an exceptional chef who loved to cook, prepared meals while Scudder served as a host, often playing his golden harp for guests. Candy Grogan, a Tryon local, was called one of Scudder's closest friends by the Chicago Tribune. She described a candlelit dinner at Corpsewood Manor that featured a 5-course meal complete with wine served in silver goblets. It was an absolute fantasy, she told the paper in 1983, but it was the after-dinner activities that sparked the most gossip. Next to the manor, the two men built a 3-story wooden structure to house their chickens and store food. On the 3rd floor of the chicken house, though accessible only by a ladder leading up to a narrow wooden opening, was a single room painted pink. The room was sparsely furnished with gas lamps, an old mattress, and a considerable collection of pornography. Dubbed the Pink Room, it served as a personal pleasure chamber, and many evenings at Corpsewood Manor culminated there. Participants reported that encounters were consensual, free of judgment, and often fueled by heavy pours of homemade wine. A journal was available for guests to record their experience and sexual preferences. As stories from the Pink Room emerged, rumors about the two gay devil-worshipping hosting sex parties at their mountainside castle billowed through the deeply conservative community of Tryon, and it wouldn't be long until the wrong people found out. In 1982, when a 17-year-old named Avery Brock wandered onto the Corpsewood property, Brock, an avid hunter from nearby Walker County, had lived a hard life. According to Amy Petula, an author of Corpsewood Manor Murders of North Georgia, Brock's father had kicked him out of his home at a young age. Scudder happily granted him permission to hunt on the land. Over time, Brock became friends with the two men and even joined them in the Pink Room. After several visits to the Corpsewood Manor property, Brock told his friend and roommate Tony West about the men on the mountain. At age 30, West, being much older than Brock, had his own story and history of trouble. Throughout his teens and 20s, he'd bounced between various jails and mental institutions. So Brock and West suspected that Scudder and Odom were wealthy and hiding the riches inside the manor. In the privacy of their shared trailer, Brock and West began devising a scheme to ambush and rob them. On December 12, 1982, they invited 2 of Brock's teenage friends to accompany them to the home of Scudder and Odom. The 2 teens, oblivious to the plot, loaded in West's car along with Brock, and the 4 began winding their way up Mountain View Road en route to Corpsewood Manor. Minutes after their arrival, they were all climbing the ladder to the Pink Room, where a lantern, kerosene heater, and a couple of mattresses awaited them. Brock brought with him a can of Toodaloo, which, if you do not know, is a homemade concoction of alcohol, paint thinner, and glue that could be huffed for a cheap high. Only Scudder joined them as Odom stayed behind in the main house to clean up after dinner. After several minutes of small talk, Brock told the group he needed to fetch more Toodaloo and disappeared down the ladder. Instead of retrieving more Toodaloo from the truck, he retrieved a rifle, and the plan was now in motion. In courtroom testimony, witnesses reported that Scudder chuckled at the sight of Brock returning with a gun. He even made a joke saying, "Bang, bang." Moments later, Brock lurched towards him, grabbed the former professor by the hair, pressed a knife against his neck, and began interrogating him about the hidden fortune. Scudder calmly explained that there is none, and they didn't have much cash, and what they did have was kept at the local bank. Brock altered course. He descended the ladder and stormed into the main house in search of Odom. Within seconds, the sound of gunshots echoed across Taylor's Ridge. Brock fired a volley of bullets at Odom and the 2 mastiffs, which lay in front of the heater, non-responsive to anything that had just happened, executing them all at point-blank range. Hearing the shots, West forced Scudder and the 2 terrified teenagers down the ladder into the castle. Once again, they demanded Scudder turn over his money. Overwhelmed at the sight of his beloved partner, Scudder pulled away from the interrogators. Another shot rang out, and Scudder fell to the floor. Brock and West began their siege, ransacking the house and desperately searching for a hoard of cash. Finding none, they grabbed several items of little value and threw them inside Scudder's Jeep. They hauled the Scudder's gold harp to the vehicle as well, though it didn't take long to realize it wasn't going to fit. Had they known, the antiques that lay around them were worth much more than the hoard that they got of little value. But the four then left the crime scene and went to the trailer, where West threatened to kill the two teenagers if they told anyone about the murders. Planning to flee to Mexico, Brock and West drove Scudder's Jeep through the night, eventually pulling into a dimly lit rest stop outside Vicksburg, Mississippi, where they decided to swap Scudder's Jeep for something more nondescript. They noticed Kirby Key Phelps sleeping behind the wheel of a Toyota. They forced Phelps out of his car and led him into a grove of trees. When Phelps tried to escape, West shot and killed him. Back in Georgia, 4 days had passed before anyone knew that something had gone wrong at Corpsewood Manor. A friend of Scudder's and Odom's stopped for a visit, and after discovering the gruesome crime scene, raced into town to notify the police. Deputies from the Chattanooga County Sheriff's Office were at Corpsewood within the hour. Entering the home, they found blood-stained walls, overturned furniture, and bullet casings. Sheriff Gary McConnell called the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the State Crime Lab. Corpsewood Manor was under siege once again, only this time by police and forensic investigators. But during the police investigation, officers reported being watched and a strange presence at Corpsewood. Those who searched the house that day described a crime scene unlike any other. Satanic statues and paintings, whips, chains, a woman's wig, pornography, vials of LSD, and human skulls. Apparently, Scudder appropriated 12,000 doses of the psychedelic mind-expanding drug LSD-25 and swiped 2 human skulls from the lab before his resignation was done at Loyola. Word of the slayings began to spread. One local stated, "We are a very small town, and we had known about the happenings. It's just freedom of religion." So the Atlanta Constitution seized on that detail and reported front page December 18th those stated words and referenced it to the bizarre killing of 2 reclusive devil worshippers and their homosexual activity, while noting the discovery of unusual sexual devices. The details of the case propelled Corpsewood Manor into the national news. Newspapers in Sacramento, Tucson, Billings, and Chicago reprinted the gory details and crime scene photos. The day after Christmas, the Atlanta Constitution reported on the arrest of the second suspect in the killings, but seemed more interested in villainizing the victim, offering a much more dramatic description of the case yet. Scudder and Odom were described by authorities by homosexual devil worshippers who lived in a dank castle-like home cluttered with skulls, pornographic materials, and an extensive occult library and statues of Satan, serpents, lizards, and frogs. By February 1983, legal proceedings were underway. Brock admitted to the killing Odom and was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms. West was charged with murdering Scudder, but pleaded innocent. According to case material, West claimed the murders were an act of revenge for the embarrassment suffered by Brock when he had allowed Mr. Scudder to perform oral sex on him during an earlier visit. The case summary continues. At trial, however, West contended the crimes were the product of hallucinations resulting from Dr. Scudder having spiked their wine with LSD, although forensic analysis of the wine bottles revealed no traces of LSD. His attorneys also claimed Scudder had bewitched their client, who had seen Scudder's golden harp pulsing with an evil glow. Throughout the trial, West's attorney made scurrilous homophobic insinuations. After several days of testimony, the jury returned a verdict of guilt on all counts, and West was sentenced to death. The following year, he appealed and pleaded guilty in exchange for a life in prison. Today, the property is privately owned, though lovers of the macabre still make pilgrimages to the site. Months after the murders, arsonists torched both the Corpsewood Manor, and the chicken house. Over the years, souvenir hunters have pilfered the pink gargoyle and any remaining signs of devilry. One of the last remnants, standing amid piles of bricks, overgrown by the relentless Georgia wilderness, is Scudder's arched gazebo, now covered by snaking tendrils of ivy. People who took souvenirs from what was left of the crime scene reported bad luck to follow them and felt the objects were cursed. Even today, people visiting the site report shadows and apparitions believed to be Odom and Scudder, gunshots, barking dogs, and shattering glass, as well as haunting melodies played on Scudder's golden harp, have been heard there. After nightfall, some witnesses have claimed to see the glowing eyes of Beelzebub, one of Scudder's mastiffs, staring at them from the woods. There was a small private funeral ceremony held at Corpsewood. Odom's ashes were scattered in the rose garden. Scudder's body was sent home to Milwaukee at the request of his sister. Scudder and Odom desired a simpler life in the woods of North Georgia. In the last piece Scudder wrote for Mother Earth News was less than 2 years before they died. In it, he was celebrating the life he and Odom had built together in Tryon. My message is that we older people are really free, even more so than our younger folk. And because of our experiences, perhaps at least a little more wise. If we want a different, fuller, more exciting life than we're leading, one closer to this beautiful earth, we can have it. Our only chains are those in our minds. The end.
Wow.
So I posted some pictures of Scudder.
Okay.
Since he's like the main component of, I mean, Odom is too. We can't, like, they were both, I mean, it was awful. So I have pictures, like before and after.
Okay.
Pictures of Corpsewood Manor.
Right.
Of the two men. And I think they're black and white pictures, so they're kind of pixelated. One of them did capture one of the mastiffs. I just don't know if it was Arsonith or Beelzebub.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a picture of both men and Scudder himself, the house, and then what was left of it. And I have a picture, up close picture that was taken of the gargoyle, the pink gargoyle, before it was destroyed.
Wow. So it's privately owned, but it's just the land because they burnt down everything?
Right.
And people are allowed there or they're not allowed there? They're just going there?
So in one of the pictures, I can see that it's kind of chained. One part of it, like when it was still intact, was kind of corded off. So I could only imagine that people are going there. I mean, obviously you're going to have people going there to like give their respects and stuff, but there's also going to be those people that are still, looking for artifacts and, taking bricks because the brick part is still there.
Right. Who's it owned by? Do you know?
I didn't get that far into it, but I will. I most definitely, like this story, I need to give full props to Amy Petula. She actually is a lawyer, I believe. And so the Corpsewood Manor Murders in North Georgia was the book that she wrote. And I definitely am going to look into reading that book now. I mean, it's bad because I think these days we don't really, back then, their sexuality was a big issue. Whereas now every day it's.
I mean, it wasn't that big of an issue if the whole town was going to the pink room. And I'm not going to, this is going to muddy his name, but I mean, he was like the local drug dealer.
Yeah. And like 12,000 vials. Like when I read that, I was like,
that's a lot.
That's a shit ton. So, and 2 human skulls, which they, in one part, they believed, they depicted that they were part of like satanic rituals, which I don't, okay, so please understand that when you are like, there is a difference between a Satanist and a devil worshiper. So it's like people out there got very angry when they were calling Scudder a devil worshiper. I mean, I just, there's a lot that went on in this, but yeah, I mean, it was sad. I mean, they did villainize them, but also, the 2 murders.
I think they villainized them because they were trying to protect the sacred, quiet town that they had, I think they threw those two under the bus because even though people in the town were partaking, they didn't want to be portrayed.
Well, none of their
like
names
that.
were muddied in it. Like,
Right, because
nobody
they-
knew.
'cause-
Nobody knew because the guest book
Right.
was burnt in the fire.
Yeah.
Everything, all of their
So
belongings. Yeah.
you have your two fall guys right there. How convenient.
Yeah.
It's always the small towns.
So did you get the correlation between the gargoyle?
And the pink room,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the pineapple nowadays, right?
Right? Yeah. So I was like, oh, even back then, like,
Yeah.
but who's going to know? Like, I mean,
Well, the whole town knew about that one.
apparently, nosy Nancy's were driving up there and like, they were being scared because it said beware of thing, which I thought was just so funny.
I don't understand why you would leave where you are to go. I understand you'd want to go to a place where no one knows you, right? But to go somewhere to get away, to be your true self and then involve everyone in your business. I'm not really sure I understand the motive with that.
I think they tried to involve the people that, and by no means am I not to defend Odom and Scudder. I think maybe when people partook in the pink room, that was just kind of not so much sought those people out, but the people sought them out to partake in those activities.
Sure. Everyone's allowed to be freaky deaky, But, and I just find it funny that there was like a sexual geocache in their pink room. Sign the book that you've been here.
Right?
Jeez.
That was like, what was that madam's name where her book got exposed? I was like, God, you're letting it all air out. But yeah, that was, I wanted something that, because when I think of like spooky, scary, I think of Savannah. And I wanted something different than the Ghost of Savannah doing my story.
Yeah, and how far was this from Savannah?
Oh, this is in northern Georgia. So it's like up by, it's in the Appalachian Mountains. So.
Right. You know about them Appalachians.
No, I don't. Tell me.
Oh, maybe I will someday. Wow, that was a good story. That was crazy. I need to look more into this McDonald's situation.
I know, wasn't that crazy? So that was like, he had to like literally put out a broadcast.
Right.
I had no idea. And like, I'm a 70s baby, right? 70s baby, 80s kid. So like, I can remember some of this.
Really?
But in like the 80s.
Well, the whole Satanic Panic thing.
Like, I can just very vaguely can I remember, because my parents, we were, the modern fucking Beaver Cleaver family, right? They watched the news and we would catch wind of it. Especially, my sister, she would know more about it than I, because she's 8 years older than me. But
all right, are you ready for mine?
I am. I'm absolutely ready for yours. Because now I thought I was getting something and I'm getting something totally different. So,
oh, you were ready for the Arkansas one?
Yeah, like, Razorback Haven. Yeah.
No. Well, I'm happy I'm doing the one I'm doing because, geez, yours was heavy.
I know, mine was doom and gloom, but like, there are now definitely haunted parts of the Appalachian Mountains in
yeah, for sure.
northern Georgia.
Yeah, the Appalachians are scary.
Yeah.
We're going to get into those for sure. More and more and more. There's a lot of stories.
Let me tell you. So my family comes from the backwoods of Kentucky, and I seriously want to dive down into my history and see how far it goes back. Just on my grandmother's side. My grandfather's side, we know where he came from. But they're people you don't mess with for sure. Crazy. But yes. Okay.
All
proceed.
Right. So I don't have the three clues, 3 guesses for you this week.
No? Okay.
But I have a riddle.
Oh, geez. Okay.
I think you're gonna get it.
Okay.
I think you're gonna get it.
Let's hear it.
All right. I'm neither even nor square, but odd in my fame. A friend to the moon, though some curse my name. I'm feared by the wary and skipped by design. Yet add me for good fortune when bakers align. In ancient calendars, I was seen as divine. But paired with a day, I'm the bringer of decline. What hides within this rhyme?
Get out of here. You lost me at the first sentence. I'm thinking of death. I'm thinking of Mr. St. Claus. I'm thinking all the things of what it probably isn't.
Okay. All right. You want me to say it again?
No. No. Yes.
Okay. All right. We're going to take it line by line, okay? Well, you don't have to write notes. Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right. Ready? I'm neither even nor square, but odd in my fame. A friend to the moon, though some curse my name. I'm feared by the wary and skipped by design. Yet add me for good fortune when bakers align. In ancient calendars, I was seen as divine, but paired with a day, I'm the bringer of decline. What hides within this rhyme?
The number 13.
The number 13.
Get out of here. Did I actually get one?
You got it. Oh
my God.
I figured since Friday the 13th is coming up this week.
Holy I have goosebumps. I have goosebumps because I actually got it. Okay, that tells you. I don't.
That was really good. Good job.
I didn't think I was intelligent enough to.
I knew you would get it, and I'm going to tell you exactly where I knew you were going to get it. The baker.
Yeah.
I
did. That got me. Like when you said it the first time, I was like, "Wait, a baker's dozen.
Mm-hmm.
A baker's dozen is 13."
Mm-hmm. See, you got it the first time. You just weren't confident enough to say it.
That's right.
You got to say it next time.
Okay.
All right. You did a good job.
That's awesome. Okay, now I want to know. I do. I have goosebumps. Look.
That's awesome. Yeah, I figured because we have a Friday the 13th.
We do.
Coming up this week, that I would do, my topic would be the history of the number 13.
That's awesome. Because it was your number in the past. It has been my number in the past.
Yep, it's our number for sure.
Yeah, on both sides of the family, it's a favorite number.
It is a favorite number. It's a lucky number. And I'm going to go over how in some ways it's lucky, in some ways it's seen as not lucky. But first I'm going to hit you with some fun facts.
Okay.
Before we begin.
Hit me.
Well, like we said, a baker's dozen consists of 13 items instead of the usual 12. Do you know why there's a 13 baker's dozen?
You know, somebody told me a long time ago, but I don't remember. I was very young.
Okay. Well, it's a tradition that originated in medieval England, where bakers would add an extra item to avoid penalties for selling underweight bread.
Get out of here. Okay.
I didn't know that. I just, thought that bakers were nice and gave you...
I knew there was a reason, but yeah, I couldn't remember.
So the fear of the number 13 is known as... Do you know what the phobia name for it is?
No.
Triskaidekaphobia.
No.
There ain't no dick in that.
I think I just said 3 dicks.
Whoops. Triskaidekaphobia.
Triskaidekaphobia.
Nope. Trisk. A deck. Dephobia.
Dephobia.
That's not. You know what? Even I'm saying it wrong. Triskaidekaphobia. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll let you handle saying that.
Okay. We're all ready. I got a foreign language coming up. So,
oh God.
So the fear of the number 13, known as triskaidekaphobia, a superstition so widespread that some buildings skip labeling the 13th floor altogether.
Yeah.
Which you knew that. We were talking about that somewhere. In contrast to many cultures, Italians often consider the number 13 lucky. In Italian gambling, the phrase fare 13 is to do 13, which means to hit the jackpot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Right. In some cultures, 13 is viewed as a sacred and powerful number. For example, in Mayan culture, the calendar consisted of 13 months with 20 days each, emphasizing its significance.
I like that.
Right? Yeah, but then I wouldn't be an Aries. So I don't like that.
I wouldn't be a Gemini.
But
But they're changing the whole astrology thing anyways.
Right. Well, I'm still in Aries. You're never going to change that. And that's true. That's true to my Aries form.
Mine changed, but I'm not giving my Gemini up.
No, screw that. The superstition surrounding Friday the 13th is a relatively modern superstition. The exact origins are unclear, but the combination of the unlucky number with the unlucky day of the week, which is Friday, led to its infamous reputation.
Wait, why is Friday an unlucky?
Unknown. Maybe I'll get into it. We'll see. There are roughly 13 full moons in a year, which some believe connects the number of natural cycles and ancient timekeeping methods together. Some athletes embrace the number 13 despite the unlucky reputation. A famous player that wore this number was NBA legend Wilt Chamberlain. I think Mike Piazza also wore the number 13. There's quite a few people that wear the number 13.
Yeah, I mean, I can't name any offhand, but
I feel like anytime you have the number 13, it's on purpose. I don't think it's just by...
Oh, it's definitely by design.
Yeah. And in numerology, 13 is often reduced to 4, a number associated with stability. Yeah. I'm not sure about numerology. Listen, sometimes I do some light numerology, girl math, but I think that might be to the extent. Sometimes I try to make things work. Actually, Jim Carrey was in a movie. Was it called 9 or the number 9 or something like that? Do you remember? And it had to do about like numerology, like the number 9 kept appearing everywhere. Oh God, I got to figure out what that.
Oh, we'll have to figure that one out.
It's a good movie. It's like one of the more serious movies that he's been in. Because, Jim Carrey can pretty much do anything. So,
yeah.
Okay. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm even more ready. Yes.
Oh, okay. So there's something about the number 13 that gives many people the chills. From ancient stories of betrayal to modern superstitions, the number has long been considered unlucky, haunting everything from hotel floors to space missions. But where did the fear come from, and is there any truth to it? We're going to take a deeper dive into the eerie and fascinating history of the number 13, its place in culture, mythology, and in modern life. And we're going to start all the way back to the Last Supper, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so one of the most famous origins of the superstition surrounding the number 13 comes from Christian tradition. According to the Bible, the night before his crucifixion, Jesus Christ sat down for a final meal with his 12 apostles that brought the total number of people to the table 13. Judas, the apostle who would betray Jesus, was the 13th guest to arrive. This association with betrayal and death helped cement the idea that 13 was an unlucky number in Christian culture. In Norse mythology, there's a similar tale of bad luck tied to the number. In one of the most famous myths, 12 gods were enjoying a peaceful banquet in Valhalla when Loki, the god of mischief, crashed the party as the 13th guest. His uninvited arrival led to the tragic death of the beloved god Balder. This event further contributed to the superstition that 13 brings chaos and misfortune. Now we're going to go to the Knights Templar. You've heard of them, right?
Oh, wow. I mean, I like the Norse one, but I'm sorry that Balor had to go. But
like, what the heck, Loki?
Yeah.
We all like Loki now because of the Marvel series, right?
Well, I mean, I think that's what everybody associates him. Yeah. That's how people associate him.
Yeah.
Because he was the
But now he brings shame to my number. So, I got a love-hate relationship with Loki. That's for another episode.
I mean, Hulk smashed, so it's okay.
So the idea of Friday the 13th being unlucky has its own dark historical roots. On October 13th, 1307, which was Friday the 13th, King Philip IV of France ordered the arrest of hundreds of members of the Knights Templar, accused them of heresy and other crimes. Many of the Templars were tortured and executed. The event marked Friday the 13th as a day of disaster, fueling the tradition that both the day and the number bring misfortune. The Knights Templar, a medieval Christian military order, was renowned for their role in the Crusades and their vast influence across Europe, officially founded around 1119. The order was initially established to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, but they quickly grew into powerful organization with significant wealth, political clout, and military prowess. The Templars gained favor with both the church and the European monarchies due to their military successes. By the way, this part is definitely for my brother-in-law, who is so into history.
Listen up, brother.
In the Holy Land and their commitment to protecting Christian interests over time, the order amassed considerable wealth through donations, land acquisitions, and banking operations. They became one of the most powerful and wealthiest organizations in medieval Europe, even operating an early form of banking system that allowed pilgrims to deposit money in one place and withdraw in another. So, they're the OG, right? The downfall of the Knights Templar was closely associated with Friday the 13th, specifically October 13, 1307. On this date, King Philip IV of France, deeply in debt to the Templars and threatened by their power, ordered the arrest of hundreds of Templar members, including the Grand Master Jacques de Molay. The Templars were accused of various crimes, including heresy, idolatry, blasphemy, and sexual misconduct, much of which were likely fabricated to justify their downfall. Under the pressure from King Philip, Pope Clement V disbanded the order in 1312. Many of the arrested Templars were tortured into confessions and several were executed, including Jacques de Molay, who was burned at the stake in 1314. Legend has it that de Molay was dying. He cursed both King Philip and Pope Clement, allegedly predicting their deaths within a year. Both men did die within a year, furthering the aura of mystery and legends surrounding the Templars. The association between the Templars' mass arrest on October 13, 1307, and the superstition of Friday the 13th is often mentioned in popular culture, though the connection is a relatively modern invention. There's little evidence to suggest that Friday the 13th was widely feared in medieval times. Instead, the notion that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day became more popular in the 20th century, possibly spurred by the works of fiction like Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code and other interpretations of the Templars' demise. Despite the historical complexity, the fall of the Knights Templar on Friday the 13th has since become a part of folklore surrounding the superstition of that date.
I have questions, but continue.
Okay. To kind of switch it up into the good luck area of it all, I looked into Wiccan and pagan culture.
Oh, I like that.
And in Wiccan and pagan traditions, the number 13 actually holds positive significance. Rather than being associated with bad luck, as it often is in Western culture, its importance primarily stems from its connection to the lunar calendar, cycles of nature, and goddess worship. Oh, and wow. I'm going to go into those a little bit. So one of the most significant aspects of the number 13 in Wicca and paganism relates to the lunar cycle. There are typically 13 full moons in a calendar year, which are closely tied to many pagan and Wiccan rituals and celebration. The moon is of great importance in these rituals. Practices often representing the divine feminine, intuition, and the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Each full moon has its own meaning and is celebrated in rituals known as asbets. Additionally, the lunar year, 12 lunar months plus a few extra days, often aligns with 13 months when measured by the moon cycle. Some modern pagan calendars, such as the Wiccan Wheel of the Year, reflect these 13 moon cycles. Another aspect is the divine feminine and the goddess. In many Wiccan and pagan traditions, the number 13 is associated with the divine feminine and goddess worship. The triple goddess, representing the maiden, the mother, and the crone, is often revered in connection with the moon's phases because of the lunar cycle's connection to femininity and reproduction. The number 13 is often viewed as sacred and empowering within these belief systems.
That's beautiful,
right? So covens and the number 13. The number 13 is also significant in traditional Wiccan covens, where it is said that a fully functioning coven ideally consists of 13 members. This number reflects balance, unity, and the connection between the practitioners and the cycles of the earth and moon. This tradition, while not always strictly adhered to in modern times, highlights the positive views of the number 13 in pagan and Wiccan cultures. Unlike the fear or negativity that surrounds the number 13 in some Western superstitions, in Wiccan and pagan beliefs, 13 is considered a powerful sacred number that reflects natural cycles, the lunar calendar, and the divine feminine. It's a number celebrated rather than feared, representing the connection between humanity and the rhythms of the earth and the cosmos. So I thought that was pretty. That was a great.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful.
That was a very unexpected, positive rendition, I guess.
Well, and I mean, and it just goes to further. It helps me understand why, Wiccan and paganism, the unknown is feared, right? Like,
sure.
And so other religions, I mean, it's a religion. It's how they practice.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, people practice Catholicism,
Sure.
Judaism, etc.
Yeah.
But I think that's those are very powerful statements and positivity that it brings.
It makes a lot of sense. And I definitely, when I was doing my research, and it was all, the fear of the number is cursed, the number is this. My thought was, well, what about Wiccans and paganism? What about the witches? Right?
Right.
Something's gotta give with that. Right. And it did. And you have to remember paganism and Wiccan culture / religion very much in tune with nature. It's all about the nature.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the good or the bad. Nature is a neutral character because nature doesn't discriminate, right?
Exactly.
It's survival of the fittest, it's cycles, it's natural. And I was just really happy to see that it was thought of in a positive light, especially too, like you said, a religion and culture that gets a lot of flack for being something not good.
Yeah. And I mean, even to go as far as, like, I know that even, different Native American tribes
Mm-hmm.
would, they would practice their spirituality kind of the same, but in different ways. They would celebrate, different animals, but it was the Great Spirit that took you. And so, and it just, I'm in awe at those types of things. And 13 is not a bad number.
Well, I'm going to go back to it being bad now. Sorry. We needed a break, right?
Right.
All right. So I'm going to go into like the modern times.
Okay.
And where 13 is associated in a bad situation. Apollo 13. Do you remember Apollo 13?
Yeah. As soon as you said, at the beginning, when you said airspace, whatever, I instantly thought of Apollo 13.
Yeah, so the number 13 continued to stir up anxiety and fear in modern times, obviously. And one of the most famous examples of this is the Apollo 13 mission. It launched on April 11th, 1970, with an intended moon landing. The mission was struck by disaster when an oxygen tank exploded on board the spacecraft on April 13th. The crew narrowly avoided catastrophe and safely returned to Earth, but the incident solidified the belief that the number 13 was unlucky, even in space. And I believe they lifted off at like 113. So like 13 was prominent.
Wow.
During that mission. Yeah. So I mentioned buildings without the 13th floor.
And hotels, yeah.
Yeah.
Altogether.
Some hotels and office buildings skip the 13th floor, and they omit it entirely with elevator buttons jumping from 12 to 14. This is done because many people believe that the 13th floor brings bad luck, and some hotels even avoid assigning guests to room 13. These practices are just modern-day manifestation of ancient superstition, showing that the fear of 13 is still very much alive. So,
especially in Vegas.
I would stay on the 13th floor in room number 13. Do it up.
Yeah, they either hate the number or they love the number.
At least you know that room is probably the least used out of all the other rooms. So it's the least likely you would have a bedbug problem in there, right?
You're not wrong.
I know. It got really dark there for a minute. But I had to bring more positivity to the 13th floor and the 13th room. So something else that I found out, which I thought was pretty cool, is have you ever heard of the 13 Club?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you about the 13th Club.
Let's hear it.
This is pretty cool. Captain William Fowler founded the 13 Club in New York in the late 19th century to challenge the superstition of the number 13 and it being unlucky. Club members would gather on the 13th day of each month, dine in groups of 13, walk under ladders, and break mirrors, all things that were said to bring bad luck.
Oh, jeez.
Their mission was to show the number 13 wasn't as unlucky as people thought. Despite their efforts, the superstition persisted. So it was founded in 1882.
Wait, the 13 Club?
The 13 Club, yeah. Captain
Wow.
Fowler, he founded it in 1882.
Okay.
And like I said, the whole goal was to prove that 13 was no more unlucky than any number.
Is it still around today?
I'm getting to that. Meetings were always held on the 13th day of the month. Members dined in groups of 13. They would sit beneath open ladders. They broke mirrors and spilled salt on purpose. The club's inaugural dinner took place on January 13th, 1882, at the Knickerbocker Cottage in New York City. The event was elaborate, featuring 13 guests, each of whom passed beneath a ladder at the entrance of the banquet hall. The dinner began exactly at 8:13 p.m., and the group sat down to a 13-course meal.
Oh, wow.
So the 13 Club wasn't just a small, eccentric club It was actually, there were hundreds of members. It attracted very prominent members, including 5 U.S. presidents, Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, William McKinley, and Theodore Roosevelt.
Wow, those are some big names.
Right? And this helped to increase the visibility of the club and spread its message that superstitions had no bearing on reality. Despite the club's efforts to challenge the superstition, the fear of the number 13 continued to persist in popular culture. However, the 13 Club did succeed in sparking public conversations about the rationality of these beliefs, and it became a symbol of the fight against irrational fears, the fight of phobias.
Right.
Right? That's cool. Though the club eventually faded away.
No.
Yeah, its legacy endures as a fascinating part of the history of superstition, representing the early efforts to combat wildly held beliefs and bad luck. So that's the 13th. That's the 13 Club. I wish it would come back, but I mean, I guess, I don't know what happens to all those clubs.
Damn New York City.
Right? I mean, there's some clubs in New York City, let me tell you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk about those.
I mean, I would have joined the 13 Club for sure.
Well, I mean, but also it was in 1882, so I'm guessing that women weren't allowed. It was like a social club, So, I mean, you can hang out by the window and see what was going on.
But in the modern day happenings, right? I mean,
Right.
The
only way you'd probably get in there is if you were one of the servers of the 13-course meal.
Yeah, women serving the men.
Yeah. Right. But that would be your in, right? So you get to see everything.
That's
going
right.
on. Yes. So back to the number 13. Friday the 13th in popular culture, right? The fear of the number 13 has been immortalized in pop culture, especially through the Friday the 13th movie franchise. I couldn't not talk about Friday the 13th, right? I mean, it's a horror movie.
It's sad.
It is. Well, it is sad. Spoiler alert.
Damn it, I forgot. So, no, some people think that it's very scary, but
the first episode, the first movie tells you the backstory, and it's so sad.
Yeah, the backstory's sad, but the rest of it is horrific.
So is now ready? Here's a question. Is Jason Voorhees an anti-hero, or is he a villain?
That's hard.
Blurs the lines a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, don't think.
Well, also, spoiler alert.
Love, peace, hair grease. Spoilers.
Mrs. Voorhees is the killer in the first one.
We're going to have to go back and watch them.
Ugh.
I know you don't like it.
I don't like Jason. I'm sorry.
You don't like my guy, Freddy, either. But
Freddy was
he's
a pedophile.
Awful.
Spoiler alert.
He's awful. But that was just... I don't know why Freddy's my guy, but Freddy's my guy.
I don't know why Freddy's your guy either. That's awful.
I know. I mean, I could say that Freddy and Sam are my guys.
I would rather Sam. At least Sam is just holding tradition, right? Spoiler alert! Oh my God, this whole thing is a damn spoiler alert.
You're gonna have to watch the 31 movies and put these on your to do.
We should do that. Wait. Oh, we'll talk about it after. Hold on. I'm almost done with my story.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Break this all out and finish.
Okay. Well, I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh yeah, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So the slasher series turned the day into a symbol of horror and bad luck, further embedding the superstition that popular in popular consciousness. But it's not just in the movies. Many people still refuse to travel, make important decisions, or even leave the house on Friday the 13th, fearing something bad will happen. So thanks a lot, Jason Voorhees. You made people scared again. But so in conclusion, is the number 13 really unlucky, or is it just a cultural fear passed down through the ages? It might be a case of confirmation bias, which I totally say that that's the case, right? When something bad happens on the 13th, we remember it. But when nothing happens, we forget. But whether you believe in superstition or not, there's no denying that the number 13 has left its mark on history, mythology, and modern life. So what do you think? Have you had any strange experiences with the number 13?
No, they've all been positive.
Yeah, me too. I kind of wait. I lie in wait for Friday the 13th, or even just the 13th day, especially if the 13th day, regardless if it's on Friday the 13th, has a full moon.
I mean, spoiler alert to my personal life, but my last child was born on Friday the 13th.
There you go.
So,
dun, dun.
You know, I mean, no, I mean, 13, the number 13, like, well, for as far back as I can remember, has been celebrated in my family. I mean, for one, on the most side because of my brother-in-law. But we've always, I don't know, the number 13 has just always been a good number for our family. Okay, but I have questions.
Yeah.
So when you were back and you were talking about the dudes, the Christian dudes,
The Knights Templar?
yeah,
Yeah.
and like the whole 1307 and
Yeah.
all of that.
It happened in 1307, yeah.
Okay, so it kind of skipped from like 1307 to like 1314.
1312.
But then one guy was executed. Who was the guy that was executed in 1314? Why didn't this? What happened in where did 1313 go? Did they skip that whole year?
So there was a mass arrest in 1307 on October 13th, 1307.
Okay.
And it was also October 13th, 1307 was also a Friday. So it was Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Right. So that's when the mass arrest occurred. So then there were knights that were accused of crimes and they were imprisoned.
Okay. It wasn't. It wasn't comprehending, like...
Okay.
Since they were so against the number 13, did they just dismiss the year 1313?
They weren't against the number 13. All this just happened, how it happened.
Oh, okay.
But when you look back at the story, it's like, oh, look at 13 everywhere. So the order of the Knights Templar was disbanded in 1312. So
Gotcha.
1307, a bunch of them got killed, right? Arrested, killed, this, that, the other thing. Then in 1312, they were disbanded. And then after they were disbanded, the ones that were remaining that were arrested, they were tortured into confessions, and Jacques de Molay was burned at the stake in 1314. So it wasn't like they just skipped 1313. Just 1313 just, I guess, wasn't eventful.
The Knights of Templar, they had like...
I guess in that sense, you can say that they were kind of lucky because 1313, nothing really went down. So it was like,
right.
Take a breath.
Like, well, like if nothing happened, then why,
why is it a bad number? Don't go back to
it's not.
They didn't think that.
It's just nothing happened.
Right.
Okay. They had like really important jobs though.
Who?
The Knights Templar.
Sure.
They get bad for good sometimes too though.
Sure. Well, I guess it depends on what side you're on, right?
I guess.
So that's it.
That's awesome. Now I want to my mom always used to kid about, she doesn't really kid, but she's like, oh, remember that time when you were a teenager and you wanted to be a witch? Yeah, Mom. I wanted to do some good for the world. All of them.
Well, I guess it's just the whole, unknown thing. Like, but also, there's good witches, bad witches, neutral witches.
I guess. I really liked your story. It was very informative and especially to something that...
Well, it's our favorite number. So I wanted to do it justice. And, this comes out 2 days before Friday the 13th. So anyone that hears it, to my sister and my mom and my brother-in-law.
And our TikTok followers.
Dark 85 Princess. Yeah, to anyone listening or no one listening at all. At least we know now. We could spit some fun facts. That wraps up another episode of Paranormal Howl Hour. We hope you enjoyed the ghostly tales and spine-tingling stories we've shared tonight. If you've got a thirst for more supernatural secrets and eerie encounters, please make sure to like and subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on all our favorite podcast platforms. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, and Stitcher. We're also on iHeartRadio, so no matter where you tune in, we've got you covered. Want to join the conversation or share your own paranormal experiences? Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or visit us at www.paranormalhowl.com, where you can send us your spooky, scary stories or theories. Don't be shy. Send your stories over to boocrewhq@hotmail.com with a chance to be featured on an episode of the Howlcast. That's boocrewhq@hotmail.com.
Because we're hot.
But not male.
We got to do it every time, guys. It's just going to happen.
I guess. Your support keeps the haunt alive and helps us bring you more spine-chilling content. Until next time, keep your lanterns lit and your minds open. The shadows are always lurking. Keep howling.
Stay spooky, guys.